wondering, when Cybergirl was quoting you as saying you didn't want to be a flat dad, available to your kids only through teleconferencing. I was wondering, so how did it work for you at Cisco? How do you stay in the loop at a major corporation as a flat exec?
Oh, you mean how do you stay sort of tapped in, being a remote?
Yeah, just for someone who is, obviously you've been tremendously successful, but what would your advice be to someone who is trying to be off-site as you are and being a flat exec a lot of the time?
I think so. There's a few things. Obviously, if you're the remote, and if you are, let's say, an island of remote, and there's a whole bunch of other people that are in a central location, like using Cisco as an example, there's a density of people in San Jose and Raleigh and Lausanne, Switzerland, and so forth. Obviously, the onus of responsibility is on you to proactively communicate to them. I think using a set of tools, and one of my new companies right now is like this. It's distributed. Everybody lives in a different state. Just as my last project at Cisco, and we have to leverage technologies that give us a common shared sort of headquarters or a common shared war room, and that creates a sense of persistence. And you can pop in and out, you can update documents, and you can chat with each other. And that's just using 2D technologies. We've leveraged 3D technologies as well, but having that sort of creates that camaraderie of the bullpen that I've talked about before, of being able to lean over a cubicle wall and say, hey, did you watch the game last night, or did you see this or that episode of this television show? And it builds trust. And really, if you're working with people a lot, you need to have a strong sense of trust. Anybody will tell you. And you do that not only by explicit interactions, but also by all of the social trust building and implicit behavior and just informal conversation. And that's when I think you begin to introduce some things like the serendipity in virtual worlds and micro updates using things like Twitter when it's up both minutes of the day. That sort of thing. The people, I'm closer to my friends and colleagues in the UK these days than I ever was before, because we're allowed to have this constant asynchronous conversation via Twitter, and I know what they're up to just as if I leaned over the cubicle wall to BS with them.
And I also just want to add a quote that I found looking you up. This was from an article by Mitch Wagner, who quotes you as saying, I bump into customers and partners multiple times a day in Second Life. In 11 years at Cisco, walking through the parking lot in San Jose, I never get people come up to me and say, hi, I'm a Cisco customer. Have a second? So it's not just within the corporation. But also, I think maybe doing the things that you're describing may make it easier to interact with people outside your organization.
Yeah, if all of us that are here and coming in via whatever mechanisms were all in the same town, I'd say, hey, everybody, let's go down to the corner pub and I'll buy the first round. But we're not. So what do we use as that sort of common bonfire, to use Ruben Steiger's metaphor? What do we use as that tribal bonfire that we all sort of center around and swap stories? This is how we do that, and it's that sense of permanence. And when you do that, you build the sense of trust. It allows you to interact better as a team. It allows you to serendipitously bump into people. Somebody in the chat line used the concept of a water cooler, or I have other colleagues that quote schedule hallway time, which is bumping into somebody in a hallway. They have, you'll get a meeting request, hallway time. And I think we really need to overcompensate if you are remote or if you work in a geographically distributed work team. You need to overcompensate for those serendipitous interactions because, quite frankly, I can think of 2 or 3 acquisitions that I was part of when I was at Cisco that I'm almost entirely certain, were the byproduct of bumping into somebody in the cafeteria at the right time at the, the right place. Versus, let's get in a war room and let's talk about this. It was, hey, did you hear about this or that? Hey, do you know what we could do? And then, stockholder value comes later.